Welcome to this short webinar. My name is Paul Collins, co-founder of SkillsTx, and I'll be your host for today. I'm also joined by my fellow co-founder, Graham Kennedy. Over the next 15 minutes, we'll introduce our world-leading talent management solution that we've developed over the past few years. This cloud solution directly addresses the recent Gartner commentary that we will, if not already, face a major shortage of the people skills required for digital transformation. We'll do this by first answering two questions. What skills do we have and what skills do we need? And then we'll show you how to exploit the data to strengthen and simplify employee engagement, enable accurate employee skills development, and provide insightful analytics to management to address those skill gaps. At the end of the session, we will be answering some common questions. And if you have any questions of your own, please use the Q&A feature in the top control panel, and we'll address these too. Okay, let's get started and have a look at how we address employee engagement. So I'm just going to move over. I'm going to use a version of my skill profile as an example. So what we're actually doing here is looking at how we use the data when we've answered that question, what skills do we have, or indeed, what skills do I have? So we've gone through a structured self-assessment. Through that process, we've captured this skill profile, and this is my user interface to show me the skills that I have, and indeed give me the opportunity to edit as I acquire new skills, or indeed skills become redundant. A couple of things to note on this. We've actually embedded the whole of Sophia into this user interface. So anywhere I hover, you can see that I get a full description. So we've taken away the need for people to be Sophia experts. They really just need to be able to read the definitions. If I scroll down, you'll see my skill profile. And another thing that we do that's worth noting is we don't ask people to make a binary selection with regard to their skills. We give a graduated approach, which can be seen in the legend at the top there. So a full solid box indicates that I have fully mastered a skill. Diagonal stripes is that I can largely perform that skill, but gives me headroom to grow and maybe go on training courses or be mentored, etc. And then the horizontal stripes indicates a previous skill that I could probably reuse if required, and I would want to. So that gives me an overview of my skill profile, and of course, immediately we've got some degree of employee engagement in as much as I can come in here and manage it, as I say, as skills come and go. However, there's another question that we pose, which is what skills do we need? And that is now represented up in the top right corner. So in this panel in the top here, we can see that I am currently assigned to my current job of Chief Digital Officer with a reasonably good percentage match of around 57%. And my aspirational job is Chief Information Officer, and some work to do there as it's only a 25% match. So immediately I've now got the answer to those two questions right in front of me as an employee. If I hit the show button, it's going to overlay the job requirement with my skill profile and give me a very visual representation of where I match, and probably more importantly, where the skill gaps are. So all the blue circles and stripes that you can see there is an indication of the requirements of my current job, and of course I can do the same color code changes for my future job and see where the skill gaps are. So it's all very well from a visual representation point of view, but let's look at the more important aspect, which is what we do about those skill gaps. So if we consider that each skill gap is a sleepless night, i.e. I am expected to perform a particular skill, but it's a skill that I've never had the opportunity to fully acquire. And those are listed down here on the left-hand side of the page. So that is a full list of all the skill gaps in my current job. The green tick boxes indicate that I'm addressing those skill gaps. And of course, if the red cross turns to a green tick, that means that I've actually addressed it via an action. And those actions we define over on the right-hand side. So you can see at the top here, I've already got an action plan in progress. I've got some actions that are still to do. And down here, I've got the ability to create custom actions to address any of those skill gaps. So if I want to address this skill gap, maybe in conjunction with a conversation with my manager or the leadership, I hit the focus button, it focuses over here, I select it, I give it a name, I select one of these types of action, description, target dates, etc., and that becomes another action in my action plan. The system will keep me advised if I miss to-do dates, etc. So again, trying to address that engagement theme. So one area where we can address the skill gaps. On the other hand, we also give organizations the opportunity to create predefined actions or indeed load in third-party actions that have been mapped against Sophia. And what the system is doing here, it's actually scanning my skill gaps and it's going and finding me predefined actions that are the highest value in terms of addressing those gaps. So over there on the right-hand side, again, I've got an option here to dig in and look at a bit more detail over on the website. I can look at more information here. And if I choose to do it, just click the button, give it a description, target date, and add it. So what we're really doing here is turning those annual appraisals into the continual professional development mentality that really is where we need to be these days. So I say a huge amount of engagement there, because this really becomes my career development dashboard, if you will. One thing I'll just mention as I flick back over onto the profile, I made mention of the skills that we need being up here in the top right corner. What I should mention is those job definitions or role definitions are actually loaded into the system via several mechanisms that we've created that make life easier and take away the need for you to be a pure Sophia expert. So, you know, the capture of that data we've also catered for in the administration console. Okay, so at that point, I will leave the user interface that the employees would use, and what I'll do is go and look at how we can use the aggregated data from an organizational perspective. So I'm going to move over into our administration console and into our analytics page. So this is where the leadership team, maybe HR, even learning development, can see the skills that the organization has, compare against the skills that the organization needs now and into the future. So let's look at a couple of scenarios. So I'm going to start by looking at this page called the Team Project Builder. This is a representation of what skills do we have. So in front of me here, I've got in the top right corner a list of all of the people in the organization that have got a Sophia skill profile. And then I've got the ability that if I need to put together a management, an agile team for a particular project, I can quickly come in here and say, okay, I need somebody with information security. We need people with governance for this team. Maybe we need some data analysis. And then up in the top right corner, I've got a list of the people that have those skills, and then I can go and check their availability because those are the exact people that I need in this particular agile project. So real quick use of that aspect of the data. What we'll do now is have a look at it from a business risk point of view. So I'm going to skip over into this thing called the force graph. And what this is immediately showing me are 3 risks to the business, and indeed 3 risks to the health of these individuals. So what I'm actually looking at here are people that have got a current job assigned to them, but unfortunately they are less than a 25% match against that particular job. Now, whichever way you look at that, that is a risk to the business. We're asking somebody to perform a role or a job that they don't have the skills to properly perform. And probably as importantly, if not more importantly, these people must be having a pretty bad time because every single day they're outside of their comfort zone. So let's focus in on the person that's probably having the most stress. So I'm just going to highlight this filter, and we can see that it's Carol. So Carol is a server technician, and she's only a 17.5% match. So what I'm now going to do is going to look at the specific gaps that Carol's got. So what is it that is missing in order for Carol to perform that role fully? So I've just come over to a page called Skill Gaps, and I've clicked on Carol, and it's immediately highlighted the Sophia skills that Carol is missing from her skill profile that the job requires. Now, of course, what we could do is help Carol address those and go through upskilling. But what I can also do is say, well, maybe the organization has got a job that already exists that Carol is more suited to. So I'm going to come back to the force graph. And what I'm going to do is switch off these filters here, and we're going to look at whether or not there's another job for Carol. So I'll just zoom in a little bit on this, give you a better view. We'll not click on that because I don't need it. So what I'm actually seeing here is all of these jobs Carol has some form of percentage match against, but I can see there's a thicker line here that's a slightly different color, and that's indicating to me that this is a better match. So I'm going to just click on that, and it's network analyst, and actually she's at 37.5%, significantly better than 17.5. So one of the options here is maybe what we should do is look at a transition to move Carol across into the network analyst role. So with a few clicks, we're addressing employee engagement, and we're addressing that business business risk issue that we have because of those low percentage matches. So hopefully that's given you, a quick understanding of how the employee sees the world through the user interface, and how the organization can view that aggregated data to address risks and indeed keep the workforce happy. Okay, so that's really concluding the formal presentation part. So what I'll do now, I'm going to hand over to Graham, just go back to the slideshow and deal with some questions that we've either just got or we've been asked previously. So over to you, Graham.
Okay, Paul, one question that we have is, how widely used is Sophia in the US?
Interesting. Yes. Well, obviously we are doing the US webinar here. So yeah, interesting actually. I know for a fact that there's many defense agencies using it, including the US Navy. In fact, there's an article on the website. And from the Sophia statistics that we get, there's 500 corporate registered users at least. And some of those at the big end of town, like Kimberly-Clark. So absolutely a foothold in the US and growing month on month.
Another question we have actually previously been asked is, who can see and edit my skill profile?
Yeah, an important one from a privacy point of view these days. So we have the capability for managers and or team leaders to actually view an individual's profile, but only the individual can edit. We're very, very clear, and indeed we're passionate about skill profiles are owned by the individual, therefore they're the ones that should edit them.
Another question is, what about my specialist skills like C+ and Oracle?
Yeah, so we recognize that Sophia is actually an agnostic framework. So we have the ability for technology to be included in both position descriptions and individual skill profiles by creating something that we call skill attributes, which sits below Sophia and allows you to define things like C++, Oracle, etc.
Okay, we just have one other question, Paul. If you use data for career planning and decision making, how do we ensure it's reliable?
Yeah, good one. So we've got several ways. It starts with good awareness before people do the self-assessment and good comms. So that's a big important part of it. We've got some ability to do outlier analysis, and we have optional validations, and we've got a team of professional service providers that are actually out there able to assist organizations, take them through skill discussions using Sophia accredited consultants. So a number of ways that we address that. Okay, more questions
I've got, Paul.
That's great. Thanks very much for that. Okay, well, that sort of concludes our webinar for today. thank you for your time. And if we tweaked your interest, we'd be more than happy to get you started with a quick discovery call and a free trial. Just go to the website there and click on Get Started Now. Or indeed, you can use the QR code that you can see, and that will take you straight to our free trial request page. And we look forward to engaging with you going forward. Thank you for joining, and that concludes today's session.